India and Bangladesh ties are going through a significant phase, and in fact, it's a phase of flux. And ever since the fall of the government of Sheikh Hasina, we've been witnessing that over the past 2 years, the India Bangladesh border has become an epicenter of not only a little bit of unease, but also several attempts by the Indian administration to send back the alleged illegal immigrants that it says had entered India from Bangladesh. Now, at the moment, what we can witness is that there have been heated exchanges between the BGB of Bangladesh that guards the border from the Bangladeshi side and the BSF of India that is its counterpart of India. And this even as there are DG level talks going on in New Delhi with both sides deliberating on this sensitive issue. And to discuss the same and its fallout on the India Bangladesh ties and what really goes on the border, I have with me someone very decorated and possibly who can easily be termed as the man behind police reforms in India. I have with me former DG BSF, Mr. Prakash Singh, who also happens to be the former DGP of two of the largest states of India. So welcome to India Abroad, and thank you so much for talking to us. There hasn't been anybody, the first name that struck to my mind whenever I just thought about interviewing somebody for this issue was yours. So give us an overview of sorts about what really goes on the border. So what we are witnessing at the moment is that although the DG level talks are going on, and clearly they're happening, since 1993, they were made biannual. And before that, they used to be held annually. But still, we haven't really been able to come out with a resolution so far. So give us an overview of what do you see? Why do you see this situation has cropped up in the first place?
You see, first, thank you, Shikha, for thinking of me to be talking on this very sensitive subject. Although I'm sure there are better people, but anyway, I'll try to tell you whatever I know. You see, India-Bangladesh relations have been undergoing a lot of twists and turns during the last few years. As long as Sheikh Hasina was there in power, we had very cordial relations with Sheikh Hasina, and as Prime Minister, she was very sensitive to our concerns. And our concern at that time centered around the insurgent outfits who found shelter in Bangladesh. Not only shelter, they were given weapons. They used to be given weapons and training, and then sent back to India with a view to create disturbances, mayhem in particular northeastern states. Now, after Sheikh Hasina came to power, that phase gradually faded, and then I would say even ended. And the insurgents were either handed over or they were pushed out of the sanctuaries and asked to find shelter elsewhere, but not on Bangladesh territory. Now that led to a lot of bonhomie, a lot of bonding, very good relations between the two countries, and a lot of disputes between India and Bangladesh were gradually, one after the other, they were resolved. For example, this problem of enclaves, which we had, that was resolved. And then in trade and commerce, we had good relations. And foreign policy, there was no clash. And I think India took preference over any other neighboring country. So that is how it was. But after Sheikh Hasina's downfall, and particularly during the Yunus regime, I mean, Yunus was a snake, I would say. I'm sorry to be using this term, but a man who got Nobel Prize for whatever he had done. We expected much better from him, but communally he was a snake, and during his tenure, there was a sharp, you can say, a nosedive in India-Bangladesh relations in every front, whether it was foreign policy, whether it was international trade, whether it was, giving shelter to people inimical to India. I mean, in every respect, Yunus
and also giving an open hand to the ISI.
Yes, giving open eyes, fraternizing with people who had committed rape and atrocities in Bangladesh. I mean, I just can't imagine. Yes, religion is a very strong factor for bonding, for coming closer together. But how can a country as a whole forget the atrocities committed by Pakistan, by the Pakistani army on Bengalis in general, minorities in particular. I mean, whatever policies Pakistan followed were destructive of Bangladesh's identity, character, its nationalism, everything. And in spite of all that, they started sort of fraternizing and mollycoddling with Pakistan. I mean, I just can't understand. I mean, I was reminded of Shakespeare has at one place said, "Frailty, thy name is woman." I would say, "In gratitude, thy name is Bangladesh." That is how I would describe it. So, I mean, for whatever sacrifices we had made in the liberation of Bangladesh, and even specifically the role of BSF, and everything was just washed out,
Right.
and with
Right.
complete ingratitude during the UNIS regime. Now, after the change in regime and after Tariq Rahman was voted to power, now Tariq
Right.
Rahman appears to be a sensible, balanced person, but he has found himself at the top at a time when, I mean, during the previous regime, I mean, immediately preceding his, particularly the Yunus regime, a whole
Yeah.
lot of fundamentalist elements, criminal elements, and extremist elements, they were all given a free rein. Well, given a
Right.
free rein. Now, having enjoyed that political patronage, uh, and now suddenly Tariq Rahman finds it very difficult. I mean, it would be very difficult for him to sort of control them suddenly overnight. It will take a lot of patience, it will take a lot of time, and it will require a lot of, I would say, strategic thinking to be gradually bring them under control and bringing Bangladesh back to rails, so to say, and back to a normal kind of relations with India and other countries. So Tariq Rahman is finding it very difficult because the snakes have been let loose in Bangladesh. The communal snakes, the extremist snakes, the fundamentalist snakes, they all have been let loose. And now to put them back and sort of keep them under control, that's going to be a problem for Tariq Rahman. And he cannot do it overnight. He cannot do it. It has to be a very gradual process. Now,
Right.
now these elements, if the now from India's point of view, I mean, you can say it's a unfortunate coincidence that this problem has come up at a time when we were looking forward to establishing friendly relations and with Bangladesh, forgetting the Yunus episode. But this problem has come up and it has to be tackled now. It has to be tackled now because if you go through Madhav Godbole's report, task force, you see, I mean, you would recall that in the wake of Kargil, four task forces were appointed. One dealing with defense, one dealing with internal security, one dealing with intelligence, and one dealing with border management. Now, border management task force was headed by Madhav Godbole, former Home Secretary, Government of India, a very honest, straightforward man. And out of all the four reports, I think his was by far the best report which was
Yeah.
submitted to Government of India. And because it was the best and more, I mean, very honest, it could not be placed in the public domain. It was
Hmm.
not placed in the public domain because Godbole was very critical, not only of UPA, but even of NDA. He said all governments
PND. Yeah.
have failed in their duty to defend the borders and keep and deal with this problem of illegal immigration. And he, in the year 2000, August, if I remember correctly, he submitted the report. And at that time, he said that 1.5 crore is the total number of Bangladeshis who have entered India. And his
Okay.
estimate was that about 25,000 per month or 3 lakh per year. That was
Okay.
the level of illegal immigration taking place from Bangladesh to India. Now, the estimate was 1.5 crore in the year 2000. Now, subsequently, the level of immigration came down because fencing was gradually being raised. But even then, I would say minimum 2 crore Bangladeshis are in India. And this is a problem in respect of which we have been warned by at different levels. I mean, as far back as I think 1994, General Sinha, as governor of Assam, he sent a report to the President of India saying that this is posing a big problem and that if this is not addressed, a time would come when the bordering districts, I mean, they would seek merger with Bangladesh as part of Greater Bangladesh. And in
Right.
Bangladesh also, we have a group of intellectuals talking of Greater Bangladesh.
Right.
Then subsequently, then you see the four task force reports were evaluated by a group of ministers. Now, the group of ministers in their comments On the Godbole report, they said that this problem of illegal immigration, this poses a grave risk to India, socially, economically, politically. He said they will disturb the social harmony. They are an economic burden, and politically, they are creating a sort of exacerbating the communal atmosphere in the country. So, from every point of view, they said it's a national security risk. Subsequently, if I recall, the Supreme Court described this phase, whatever was happening, as a demographic aggression. And he said that this matter should be tackled. So, I mean, at different points of time, we got warnings from General Sinha, we got from a group of ministers, from by the Supreme Court. Everybody kept on warning, but no government, including the NDA at that time, took it seriously. When Advani ji was Home Minister, I remember some scheme was drawn up
Mm-hmm.
identity cards to people, this, that, but it somehow it could not be pursued to
Mm-hmm.
its logical conclusion, and that also fizzled out. So now
Right.
this government is committed to, I mean, Amit Shah has been repeatedly saying that एक एक घुसपैठियों को गिन गिन के निकाला जाएगा और उनको भेजा जाएगा. Now, having won the election on that, I mean, as one
Point
of
blank.
the, you can say one of the battle cries of election, घुसपैठिए निकाले जाएंगे. Now the घुसपैठिए have to be sent back, and they are being sent back, I must say, in all sincerity. But the problem is of identifying them and then sending them across the border. Now, in the initial phase, it seems some घुसपैठिए were sent back without much problem, because I suppose Bangladesh government was also not prepared to deal with this re-entry of the illegal immigrants. Now, they all know that they are illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. Everybody knows, but
Right.
at the political level, they take the stand that there has been no illegal immigration. At least
Yeah.
this was the
And
stand.
if I can just interrupt you here, why is Bangladesh not comfortable enough, or the current regime comfortable enough to admit the fact that these illegal migrants that India terms as are in fact Bangladeshi nationals? What is the discomfort?
The discomfort is that this would be played by the extremist elements, the fundamentalist element, that look, this is a weak government. It is taking people whose nationality is doubtful back to India, back to Bangladesh. I mean, they will question. But actually, for the Bangladesh government, the predicament is that re-entry of these Bangladeshis in large numbers would mean an economic burden,
Yeah.
and then these people will have to be rehabilitated. As it is, Bangladesh is facing problems. I mean, I must say
Right.
they're really facing problem because Rohingyas are being pushed from Myanmar side, so they are faced with this problem. And then these Bangladeshis also get back. Already there is Bangladesh is a very heavy density country, and I
Right.
suppose they would find it difficult to find employment for these people. And in the absence of employment, these people will create law and order problems. So for them, it's going to be an economic burden and a grave social problem. Uh,
Hmm.
and because of
We can
that,
say we it's very understandable, from the viewpoint of Bangladesh. We can understand that they have been, even if there have been a lot of incidents, and like you've been rightly pointing out, that at one point of time it was estimated about 3 lakh per year, if I'm if I
yes,
if you if we can
yes.
go by the report that you had mentioned. But what is India's why has India's stand been so so to say timid, or that of a weak nation of sorts? I mean, why has India gone so high-handed against the Bangladeshi immigrants just over the past 2 years, ever since the unionist regime took over? Why was there no major action? And why I ask this question is that we are having the DG level talks between the BGB and the BSF for decades now, and in fact they used to be held annually before 1993. From 1993, we have DG level talks twice every year. So that means that we have failed to come out a resolution. And in fact, it is, I mean, I don't have any qualms to say that the Indian government was possibly, behaving like an ostrich when it comes to this issue.
You see, you talked of government of India's response being timid, and timid it was. Why? You see, UPA government was not serious about the problem. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm being blunt about it. The UPA government was not serious about the problem, and if the immigrants are coming, oh, well, let them come. What can we do? And there was that human rights lobby was there, and then there were the liberals who said that yes, if they are coming because of whatever problems they are having in their country, let them come. And those days there was a theory of Lebensraum which was floated by a set of Bangladeshi intellectuals. Lebensraum is a German word which means that when just as water flows from a higher level to, I mean, it seeks its level. So he said from a high density country to a comparatively low density country, a movement of people is a normal process and which should be accepted in the normal course. So these theories were floated by different people, and this thing went on. I mean, everyone knew that this is happening, but India is some kind of an ocean where where large bodies of men get submerged and they get sort of assimilated into the total population of the country. So the UPA government was really not serious, but subsequently NDA governments were serious. But at that time, I think. I think somehow the political will was not there at the highest level, although Advaniji was quite strict about it. But party as a whole could not probably muster courage. And then, you see, during Sheikh Hasina's time, there was the dilemma that now the Sheikh Hasina is helpful, she is cooperative, and several issues, I mean, which
Was there
irritants,
a
which
dilemma to because the government wanted to keep Sheikh Hasina in good humor?
yes, they wanted to keep Sheikh Hasina in good humor because Sheikh Hasina was cooperating with Government of India on several fronts. And the most important front was that the insurgent groups which are taking shelter in Bangladesh, different insurgent outfits from the northeast, whether it was Ulfa or any other outfit, all those camps were closed. So out of a sense of, I mean, obligation and gratitude, we said that all right, let us not take up this issue right now. बट आई मीन होता है ना, सिर से पानी ऊपर उतर जाता है, तब देन यू हैव टू वेक अप टू द प्रॉब्लम. And a situation was coming where their influence over the assembly seats, over the parliamentary seats, that was increasing in numbers. And when these warning signals were given, government said, I think enough is enough, and now we need to take cognizance of this matter. And the present government, I mean, the Modi government, I must give full credit to them. They have taken up these nationalistic issues head on, irrespective of the I mean, whatever opposition there may be within the country or outside the country. But I mean, the way they dealt with the Article 370, the way they dealt with the Naxal problem, and the way they are now dealing with the infiltration problem, I must give credit to them for taking these problems head on and sort of not seeking excuses.
A major question is about the fencing. Now, there have been several reports about why the fencing was not completed on time. I mean, this is a very long border, very porous. Unfortunately, we can see that, there, I was reading that for every kilometer, there have been 20 people bordering the border from the BGB side. And still, I mean, of course, the porousness of the border itself allows a lot of people to enter India. Plus, there are a lot of touts that are operating who just take 20 to 30,000 bucks, some even 50,000, and help these illegal immigrants to enter India. So, why has India not been able to address the fencing issue so far?
The fencing issue could not be addressed because of a number of problems. The main problem was the non-cooperation of West Bengal government. You see, for fencing, you need land. Now, land has to be acquired. Land has to be acquired. On Punjab border, we have been very strict that it is about 150 meters
Right.
on our side of the international border. Perhaps in eastern border, that strictness is not possible for certain reasons. But anyway, land had to be acquired, and for a lot of land, I reliably am told that money was paid to the West Bengal government. इतने करोड़ रुपए जमा हो गए, but still she would not hand over the land. I mean, handing over was delayed by 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. She was very, I mean, she procrastinated, she hesitated, and she dilly-dallied in the handing over of land to the BSF because she wanted, I think she was under pressure from the Bangladeshi elements who had become politically powerful within the country, and even otherwise, the Muslims who were sympathetic to immigrate to more Bangladeshis coming into Bengal. She was under political influence of these people कि नहीं साहब मैम साहब जमीन मत दीजिए नहीं तो आदमी को आना बंद हो जाएगा आदमी को आने दीजिए और जितने आदमी आते हैं आपका वोट बैंक बढ़ेगा. So she sacrificed national interest for her own political survival. Mamata Banerjee,
Right.
I think, played a very dangerous game, and it's really pathetic that how our leaders, for their political short-term interest, they sacrifice the country's long-term interest, which is very sad, very tragic, and very unfortunate. So that
Right.
is the timidity was. Timidity was there in its own place, but there was a lot of, the West Bengal government's dilly-dallying in the handing over of land was main factor. And of course, then even if the fence is there, let me tell you, 100% infiltration can never be stopped.
Right. But
100%
so then,
infiltration can never, because there are always corrupt elements. They are in hundred, not in tens or but there are hundreds. In hundreds, there are corrupt elements who are prepared to see you through across the border, bribing this man, bribing that man, and then arranging your fake passport, fake Aadhaar cards and ration cards. There were syndicates operating. कि आप यहाँ से हम बॉर्डर पार कराएंगे वहां जाइए वहाँ आधार कार्ड बन जाएगा राशन कार्ड बन जाएगा एंड ऑल these rackets were rampant during the Trinamool regime. I hope there is a crackdown and these are busted and minimized.
right. So there have been certain observers, especially the geopolitical and military observers, who point out that even if there was some about 569 kilometers out of the over 2200 kilometer long boundary with Bangladesh that we share, still, if the West Bengal government was not, giving the land to the BSF, there were parts of the boundary that the Indian government could have still went ahead and fenced, but the Indian government could not complete the fencing even on portions of the border where fencing was possible. So was it also a lack of will on the part of the center also just to keep Sheikh Hasina in good humor because she was helping on other fronts? Or what was it something else?
I won't be able to comment on that because frankly I'm not aware of the what was the sensitivity or what was the difficulty in not fencing areas which had been handed over. I'm frankly not aware of the facts, so I won't be able to comment on that. But if there was laxity in those areas, I think that is inexcusable, and people responsible for that need to be properly held accountable.
Right. So for the past 2 years, ever since Sheikh Hasina's regime has fallen, we've seen that India-Bangladesh ties have significantly been deteriorated over the past this year, and also on the apart from the border issue, there have been other issues that have also, become uneasy between the two countries. But now, with a new government in place in West Bengal, the land transfers have happened very quickly. And in fact, I was just reading some reports from West Bengal that a lot of fencing has also, started now. Do you think that at the end of the day, it is more about the India-Bangladesh ties and the fall of Sheikh Hasina regime and the cropping up of elements like Muhammad Yunus, who came to power and was the primary reason behind the deteriorating ties between India and Bangladesh that have led to this stringent action or reaction from
I
India?
think
Do you think it had
Muhammad
not been
Yunus regime was a Muhammad Yunus regime was a disaster for India-Bangladesh relations. But that is the time when he started. ISI teams would come to Bangladesh, military delegations would come to Bangladesh, and he would talk of landlocked India's northeastern states as if. Then he would give vague hints about sort of India being weak on chicken neck, this, that. So, Bangladesh relations took a nosedive in their relations. And that is the time when I think, when I would say God has been kind and the BJP has done great service to the country, sort of installing a regime which is nationalistic in its outlook and which will now take care of, otherwise, our eastern flank was being breached, and we would have been helpless spectators to Bengal turning into another Kashmir. In fact,
For the
about 10
first
years
time,
back,
in fact, for the first time, in fact, Bangladesh and Pakistan have, started growing closer so deeply that, in fact, Pakistan has recently given training to under-trainee bureaucrats from Bangladesh. Now, this is a huge reversal from the previous position because earlier it was India and the LBNSA here in Dehradun of Uttarakhand, where the young Bangladeshis bureaucrats would arrive and they would be trained at the academy here. Now, along with that, there is also a way of looking at how Pakistan is trying to work on the Bangladeshi psyche. Significantly, they are offering 500 scholarships to young Bangladeshi students, and they are now going to be studying in Pakistani universities and colleges. What the syllabus is going to be, it is really questionable. But I really want to ask you, do you see that, do you think that, not overturning these decisions of the Yunus regime, the Tariq Rahman government is erring somewhere down the line?
no, Tariq Rahman, I mean, I know his problems are very sensitive and very difficult, but he'll have to gradually find his way. And sort of sending your officers for training to Lahore instead of to National Defense Academy, Delhi. I mean, once they come back, they will see the difference themselves. What
Very
training
well.
they got in India and what training they are getting in Lahore. So they will themselves realize, and I think. The sooner that realization comes, the better. And if Pakistan may have offered 500 scholarships, let them do whatever they want. They definitely would want to fish in troubled waters. And in fact, there was a warning, when some kind of a threat from Munir that next time there is a Operation Sindoor, something like Operation Sindoor, there'll be trouble from the India's eastern frontier. So, I mean, they are in a way hinting that Bangladesh would also join Pakistan in any confrontation in the subcontinent. That kind of hint they have already given. And somehow, I mean, Bangladesh has been leaning towards China more, maybe more to pressurize India. That look, we can we can sort of be more, we can be closer to China, and that would be at India's cost. So that places the government of India in a difficult situation. But I don't think there has been any sort of bending down, and we are going ahead with the pushing back the infiltrators. And a lot of them, I'm told, are now voluntarily leaving. They feel they will not be safe and they will not be comfortable and they will not get jobs in India. So it's better to go back to your country. So I mean, this Bangladeshi re-entry of Bangladeshis into Bangladesh, Bangladesh will have to accept this. Accept this reality, because these people came from their country and they are just going back to their own country. They will have to accept this reality. And once they can reconcile to this reality, then it will be easy for India-Bangladesh relations to be put on a sound track. But
So if I can
otherwise,
just highlight, if I can just highlight here what is happening on the ground. Now, while we are, looking for better ties with Bangladesh, and you're pointing out that India has so far not budged on the infiltrator issue, but what we are getting to know from border is a very different situation, very different picture. Now, the BGB and the BSF at some points, for example, in their areas like Jamalpur, where there have been heated exchanges between the two forces, the men of two forces, and there are people who are stranded in the no man's land. So how do you see in this a situation that Bangladesh would ever come to terms with accepting this fact, and what do you see, how do you see the future of these people who are stranded in the no man's land, whom even the Bangladesh forces are not ready to accept?
you see the Bangladesh guards, border guards, they will have to, well, they'll have to carry out government's directions. I do not know how much of pressure and what kind of directions there are. But I mean, actually, it will have to be dealt with at the political level more than the border forces level. And if the directions are that no, you seek confrontation, you don't allow Bangladeshis to come back to Bangladesh. If there are very strict instructions, then I'm afraid it's going to be a very tricky situation, and we'll have to deal with it. And maybe we'll have to take a stronger measures to see that they are pushed back. There can be no going back on this pushing back of Ghuspaitias, as Amit Shah says. So we should be very firm on this, even if it means some, I mean, more irritants, even if it means some problem with Bangladesh. But this problem has to be tackled once and for all. And even if we are not able, I don't think we'll be able to, uh, even with the best of
Tackle it completely.
intentions, we won't be able to push back all the 2 crore or 2 crore plus Bangladeshis. But even if you can push back 50, 60 lakhs, that will be something. And I have always said that the remaining 1 crore plus people who are left behind, we should say that you declare your identity, come out in the open and say that you're Bangladeshi. We'll give you work permits to stay here for 2 years. I mean, that has been my suggestion. And we will allow you to earn your livelihood. The only stipulation should be that these Bangladeshis, while they are allowed to work and earn their livelihood, they should not be allowed, A, to acquire any movable property, and B, vote in the election. These two things they should be debarred from. Otherwise, they could stay in India, move to any place they like, and earn their living. So, I mean, we will also have to make a lot of compromises, even after pushing as many Bangladeshis as we possibly can. I don't think we will ever be able to push 2 crore Bangladeshis
All of
back.
them.
That won't be
Right.
possible. But even if we can send 50% back, I think it will be a great achievement.
So clearly, what I can gauge from your comments is that this is going to be one issue that is going to recur in the future as well. But I really want to ask you, the DG is here of Bangladesh, and there are DG level talks going on for the past. They're going to conclude tomorrow, and we are expecting a statement tomorrow. These have been talks that are going on for the past 3 days now. So clearly, there are issues there are sticking points that are being discussed, but really want to ask you, where do you see these talks heading? Do you think that there's going to be some concrete resolution that is going to emerge out of these talks?
Well, these talks are held now every 6 months, and they offer a great opportunity. But this opportunity is only at the border forces level. The point is what mandate the Bangladesh border guards have got at the
The
political level
political masters.
from their home ministry, from the foreign ministry, what mandate they have got, what instructions they have been given. So maybe they will just play it cool, be good friends, and enjoy the hospitality of border security force, and then do a lot of shopping as they do in Delhi, and then go back. But carry out whatever instructions are given to them. So somehow at times it becomes just a friendly get together
Routine affair.
where you eat and drink together, but nothing comes out, because whatever has to come out at the political level, and it will depend upon Tarique Rahman's leadership and how much he is prepared to risk in the process of normalizing his relations with Bangladesh, with India, because normalizing would definitely involve a certain element of risk that he has to take. Let him take it gradually, but that risk will have to be taken from his side, and we will accommodate. We should be accommodating in this. We should be accommodative in the sense that yes, we'll push only those Bangladeshis who are voluntarily going back, and maybe we will still absorb maybe 50 lakhs or 1 crore. We will still absorb. I mean, that we should convey that to them. I mean, maybe unofficially, maybe quietly, but there has to be some adjustment, some accommodation from both sides. They will have to take back some. We will accommodate the rest. I mean, that kind of attitude will lead to a meeting point, and I think will facilitate normalization of relations.
Right. My last question to you, sir. I'm sure you're aware that India has also, started talking to Myanmar, and we've recently offered more scholarships to students from Myanmar, who will come to India and study. There have been discussions on the levels on the sectors of critical minerals, defense, etc. And Myanmar and India, especially Myanmar, has reassured India that it is not going to allow any activity that is going to be enemy to India from its own territory. Do you think that there is Bangladesh in India's mind when it closes itself to, establishes proximity to Myanmar?
I think what is happening on the India-Myanmar front is very encouraging, very, very positive, and I think we should welcome it. Uh, uh, Good relations with the regime even though it's a military regime, but whichever regime is in power, we have to deal with that government only. We can't say that we'll be friendly with XYZ only if this kind of government is there. We have to have a friendly neighborhood, and we should have friendly relations with whatever government is in power in Myanmar. So whatever sort of understanding has been struck in respect of that, I mean, an assurance from Myanmar that they will not allow their territory to be used for anti-India purposes, which also is very positive. But the problem here is that in northern Burma, the hold of the uh, central government is rather tenuous, and in those areas, if quietly the Indian army and the Burmese army could cooperate, they will be able to deal with the insurgents in those areas far more effectively than is being done currently. I mean, Indian army in the past carried out some surgical operations, but and which were not welcomed by the Burmese government because they felt embarrassed. Whatever is done should be done openly with cooperation, and we could have a joint sort of joint operations by the Indian and Myanmar armies in the northern areas, where insurgent groups of different shades are active, including Paresh Barua's Wolf of Independent faction. So that is a good thing, and we should improve our relations with Myanmar, and gradually, sort of. I mean, India-Bangladesh relations are tricky, sensitive, and full of thorns. But I think we should. I mean, if we pursue normalization very steadily, cautiously, and taking care of the elements which are opposed to normalization, dealing with them strictly, but strictly to an extent which can be accepted by the people, by the government. I think that will be the best course of action. It will require, as I said, a lot of patience, uh, a lot of farsightedness on the part of Bangladesh and India both.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. With this, we're also heading towards the end of this interview. Of course, the most important discussion that we've had so far happens to be the suggestions that you have given to both the sides to ensure that even if there are some infiltrators that remain in India, it remains to be ensured that they are not allowed to buy movable properties, second, vote in the elections, which of course makes things more difficult to manage, because at the end of the day, it is politics that comes into play, and that is where India also starts facing trouble when its own politicians keep aside national interest and think about their own regional interests. Thank you so much, Singh sir. It has been a very, very enlightening session with you. We'll always keep you in mind whenever there are such issues to be discussed. Thank you so much for your suggestions and comments, sir.
Thank you, Shikha.
So keep watching India Abroad.